All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. I've got Lida on. I know that she's having trouble with her mic, so no problem. Lida, I've got you. Danny Steyer, gotcha. Matt Fogarty,
Yep.
gotcha. Shelby Long,
Yep.
thanks, Shelby. Greg Walsh. Okay, I think Greg was on. We'll continue on. Marcia,
Yeah,
hi, Marcia.
mostly here.
How are you feeling, Marcia?
I feel better.
Good.
I'm still testing positive, but my symptoms are better.
Yeah. Well, nice to see you. I'm glad that you're feeling better. And then we have some additional participants from the Almanor Foundation Housing Committee. So we've got Josh Huddleston. Thank you for joining us. Tyler Pugh, and Kelly Konzelman is also joining us from our builders. Sherry, I see you. Is Kest joining us today as well?
Yeah,
Are
he'll
you
be, yes. Thanks again for the invitation and nice to see everybody. He'll be along. He's painting right now.
Ah, good. He's got to do it while it's a little bit warmer.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. All right. And Dax just texted and he will be along shortly, so that'll be good to have Dax on. Great. Well, with that, just given, I know we had a little bit more of a lengthy opportunity last time with the Almanor Foundation. Our first item on the agenda today is any public input, and that's Sherry, that really falls to you as our public participant today. Do you have anything you wanted to share with the team?
Okay. We're looking forward to all the items on the agenda today. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Sherry.
Uh-huh.
All right. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Josh and Tyler and Kelly. And just this is hopefully going to be a little bit more of a deeper dive into some of the information that was shared and provided to the steering committee 2 weeks ago. Thank you for the background information, Tyler. I did get that out to the steering committee on Friday. So the couple pager and the video, and I know that there are a number of steering committee members that were able to watch the video, and I think that kind of helped build some situational awareness just around the problem set overall. And then I also know that there are some questions, as always, which is good, that develop after you get a little bit more explanation, allows for some more discussion. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you all.
Thank you. So I'll go first. Just briefly to kind of discuss what was in the memo to you guys, and make note of things like links in there for the housing assessment report, the strategic housing plan, the housing systems map, and also the mix and match toolkit. Those pieces were put in there to kind of help hopefully answer any questions and address any things and thoughts that you guys came up with. And so that was all in there. It also gave links to RRA development, which Kelly will talk more about later. And then also briefly discussed the pieces, like PlaceMate with rented routers and the TRIO program. Those are both pieces that will help our customers, is kind of who I call them, to depending on what situation they're in financially, with whether they intend to be a renter or they intend to purchase outright, if they intend to possibly lease and then buy later, and just all those things. So there's definitely not one customer here. There's multiple different customers, that we want to try and reach with this attainable housing. And so, so there's lots of pieces in there. I hope that you all had a chance to maybe look that over and dive into all of that deeper and come out hopefully not with your eyes crossed as I did the first couple of times. But so there's definitely a lot there. Also, just briefly touch on the Housing Council meeting that we had last Thursday, which was really great. The Housing Council, continues to move forward with, a lot of just sharing of what everyone is doing. And the communication has been really, really great in being able to keep up with different organizations and also what the county is doing and what's coming forward and what we need to be ready for and what everybody's working on. It's just been really great sharing all of that information. And so I think that's a little bit it. I know that the three of us, Tyler, myself, and Kelly, are all here. If anybody has questions and like Patrick said, dive in a little deeper. So I will leave it at that.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, thanks to the steering committee for allowing us to chat with you again. The last meeting that we had about 2 weeks ago for your last steering committee was really an introduction and a reminder that the Housing Council exists and the Housing Committee with the Elmanor Foundation exists and have been working on these projects for quite a while, and have contracted with LMNOP on these projects. Matt, I see your hand went up. We're going to dive into questions around the around the specific RA model and those that were asked. Did you have a question?
Oh no, it was around that. It was around the model. We can come back to it later.
Okay, great.
The team, I do know that they between Tyler and Kelly, they've got some things to present, and some of your questions may get answered just in that discussion.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of hold questions to the end,
All right,
as it may get addressed throughout their brief.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, so for the last 2 years plus, LMNOP, my company, has been working for the Elmanor Foundation, trying to figure out challenges around housing. It's commonly referred to as a polycrisis, meaning we have many different crises at the same time. Affordability, labor, construction standards, code enforcement, workforce, just like all of these things kind of surmount. And what we understand is like workforce attainable housing, meaning housing stock for both renting and for purchasing are affordable to our middle income, basically our workforce, meaning anywhere from about $20 an hour upwards is basically what we're really looking at, because that's our bread and butter in our community. That really is really the heart. Greenville also held, if you read the housing assessment, you'll understand that Greenville actually held a significant portion of the workforce attainable housing stock in the county. And meaning that a lot of our citizens of Greenville commuted to Quincy and Chester to go work in those areas, as well as working in the local area in Greenville and Indian Valley itself. And so within that, if you read the housing assessment, that goes through all the data points and just really how important Greenville was to our workforce attainable housing stock across the county. So I'd encourage you to read that and get into that. With that, LMNOP has been tasked with figuring out a solution in that to actually drive this. The challenge is this is not just our local area. This is a nationwide problem and our challenge, and statewide significantly. We are not the only ones that are faced with workforce attainable housing. What I would say is we are faced with a level of acuteness to that challenge that many others don't face because of Greenville being destroyed. That is creating opportunities, focus, and also resources that other communities don't have that we're trying to lean into. And some of those are capital resources, so money at the end of it. Within that, we were tasked with not just designing or figuring out a solution for one house, but how do we start to create a scalable solution towards our local community, but also the region and the county as a whole. What does that mean? That means that we didn't look at just building one house that was potentially custom and that was done, which is incredible. We are celebrating all houses being built, period. 100% celebration for all housing stock is phenomenal, period. but we need to figure out something that can replicate itself and has what we were looking at as circular paths for funding, basically ways of continuing to drive the engine for housing stock itself, which would then drive the economy. We have then targeted and worked with RRA that has come up with a development model. You all have gotten the investor pitch for that, and it's been outlined in the memo as well. So if you haven't, someone's echoing. Oh, we're there better. If you haven't had a chance to view that, please take the time to view that recording. Our goal for today is actually to go through the questions that were issued from steering committee members, and some of those that are very traditionally asked, very consistently asked, so that we can address those high-level questions. What we would like to do is the next steering committee is then we can go into more questions and answers with Kelly and get into more detail with the steering committee. We also outlined what we would like to move towards as our goal or objective is getting an indication on funding from not just the DFC, but the North Valley Community Foundation and the Almanor Foundation by mid-November is what we're targeting. So just having an indication of where you're landing. So we'll march towards that. Please read the memo and please also watch the video. To date, we have met with Seneca Healthcare District, Plymouth District Hospital, Indian Valley Community Service District, and Indian Valley, a couple of individuals within that have become interested. Oh, and SBI. Sorry, I forgot the big one. To run through the investor pitch the same way that the video was presented, and we'll start sending that video out to directed potential investors to start to move this forward a little bit quicker than the pace that we've initially started with. From that, what we found very clearly is Plymouth District Hospital, Seneca Healthcare District, and Indian Valley Community Service District are not in the position of investing. That is because of federal restrictions that they have on how they can invest capital. What they are interested in and what has been noted is they all have land. And they're interested in how that land could be supportive of this model. So we're in conversations of what it could look like for RRA to develop on their land, which might help us to reduce down some of the capital raise that we're looking at, the $5 million that we've noted in the investor pitch. So we could actually pull that down. With that, the other thing that has come up is they are also deeply interested in renting this housing stock. Specifically, Seneca Healthcare District said that they could potentially rent 7 sites, which would be 21 homes in total directly from the RRA development model. Now, those individuals would be commuting to Chester, but they would also be there in the evenings or afternoons, spending money at potentially the hardware store. They need to go fix something on their car, or they go to the weigh station or the weigh baby, buy some food. So they would help to spur our local economy at the same time. And so what is beneficial is if we can have those guaranteed rents ahead of time, then we would be in a much stronger position with the investors to be able to basically say that these are rented without any downtime. That's significant for a potential investor. So that was 7 sites with Seneca, and 4 homes were articulated from Plymouth District Hospital that they could rent out right now as well. Those are without the current construction that is underway for the new hospital in Chester and the skilled nursing facility in Quincy, which the capacity would need to increase as those buildings get online and start to run. So the other one, SPI became deeply interested in this, and it's running up the chain up to the executive level. We talked to Mark Lester, and he was extremely excited about this. Rita Renzel, I think is the last name. She is on the Housing Council, and is also been a very active member of our community outreach and our meetings and things like that. And she is a direct representative of SPI, specifically tasked with housing for SPI. So with that, I just wanted to kind of say, like, we're talking to as many stakeholders as we can that would be in the position of financially investing. And we're also starting to talk to outside foundations that are interested in this very significant challenge of housing. So with that, today, the purpose is to really have Kelly, one as a quick introduction of Kelly, who he is, and just to say hi. So there's a face to the name and a face to the video. And then to run through the questions that were brought up by the steering committee members, kind of rapid fire, but an opportunity for you to hear what he's been thinking and kind of the position of it. Hopefully we'll have enough time for questions and answers. If we don't, we would love to get as many questions as we can in writing on the comment board of the video. However you can send those to either Patrick or myself or Kelly, that would be great, because we're creating an FAQ of the questions that get answered from the community members as we move through this process. So with that, Kelly, do you want to do a quick intro and then we'll get into the questions?
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank everybody for their attention today. I was hoping that many people as possible was able to view that video presentation. I tried to make it as succinct as I possibly could, and yet get as much information disseminated in that very short period of time, so we kept your attention. I have been building houses since 1980. That's when I first started my first company with my father. My business partner, Hector Viscara, was not on this call today. He has been building houses since 1982. The two of us together have over 80 years of experience in construction, real estate development, and corporate finance. I had about 12 years of my professional life as an investment banker, so I understand about how to provide corporate finance, raise money, structure deals, things like that. My business partner has a significant history doing municipal redevelopment using public funds, public monies, redevelopment, working through redevelopment agencies, specifically in the Inland Empire, California, in rehabbing distressed housing and distressed communities. I wanted to start right away by answering a question that was on the chat board, our very first question, because it really kind of gives a good entry into what we're trying to do here. The question is, what does RRA see as the significant deltas between Paradise Rebuild and Greenville Rebuild? What must change in the model assumptions between Paradise and Greenville? As you may know, I have been building homes in Paradise now for almost 6 years, since just after the campfire. I have been a long-term member of the Campfire Collaborative and have been on the housing committee of the Campfire Collaborative and been there for every single meeting for the past 6 years. Recently, I've been appointed as to the board of directors of the Campfire Collaborative, and I'm now taking a step even further in participating in that marketplace. But the difference between what we are trying to do in Paradise and what we are trying to do in Greenville is really night and day. And let me explain to you that there really is no comparison. There are no comparative deltas at all. What we are trying to do in Paradise under my brand Paradise Affordable Homes is to provide is to go in there as a developer, purchase properties, purchase vacant land, and build out either stick frame homes or manufactured homes, and then resell those to the community and as affordable housing, or I should say attainable housing, and use the right expression here. When we first went to Paradise, our model was completely different than what it ended up being. And that's because we realized that market conditions, local conditions continue to change. Interest rates have continued to go up, making it harder and harder for people to borrow, for people to buy. And we basically reduced our operations to only building spec manufactured homes in the Paradise market. And to give you an idea, our entry-level price point home for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot home is around $265,000 on a quarter-acre lot. That's what we're building in Paradise. And we're able to do that on a spec basis, meaning that we as a developer take 100% of the risk. We fund it, we build it out of our pocket, we wait for the money after we sell it, and we take 100% of the risk on. And the reason why we're willing to do that in Paradise is because, number one, there is a mature market in Chico and Oroville, our sister towns, where we still have people there. Paradise lost 91% of its housing stock and its infrastructure in the Camp Fire. There were no buyers when we initially started in the town of Paradise. However, one thing that they had at our advantage was they had a down payment assistance program, which would provide up to $100,000 worth of down payment assistance for first-time buyers if we qualified. And the qualifications were raised so that anyone who was a campfire survivor, who either lost their house, their rental, or their job as a result of the campfire, could participate in the $100,000 down payment assistance, provided that their income did not exceed 120% of AMI. And that was what makes this program possible. Unfortunately, most down payment programs that are available in California are limited to 80% AMI buyers, and it's simply the programs just do not work. If you qualify for, if your income is so low that you qualify for the down payment assistance as an 80% buyer, you will not qualify for the mortgage, no matter how low that mortgage is, no matter how low that house is priced. So our focus in Paradise has been very specific, and it really does not cross over to what we're trying to do in Greenville. And the reason for that is in Greenville, we have no developers coming to the table up there because, number one, the for-profit developers like myself are unwilling to take the risk to build spec housing because there are no buyers in this market. The adage of the Kevin Costner adage of build it and they will come is great on the movies, but it doesn't work in real life. So we had to, there's no activity by the county, by any of the county officials or its government agencies to market in other outside areas to people like Bay Area or Sacramento, saying, hey, come live in Plumas County, come enjoy this wonderful quality of life, come enjoy our jobs and these new houses that we're building. No one's telling that story. So we're limited in selling into a market that's only 15,000 people deep for the entire county, and also typically very low wage earners on an AMI basis. So we had to rethink our model completely. And the model that we had to go after in order to make financial sense was to switch this from a spec construction development model into a rental model. And by converting it into a rental model and getting lease guarantees from the community saying that if you build these units, we will come and we will rent those units and we will make sure that you have guaranteed tenancy in your properties, we were now able to create a different financial model that allowed us to build these homes, rent them, and through some creative financing to get them to a cash flow positive basis where the cost of the underlying takeout mortgage is now covered by the total rental income based for that property. That is quite a trick. It's very, very, very hard to do, but we think we have created a model where that is possible. And that kind of goes into some of the other questions that I've been given here. Tyler, did you want to ask those, or did you want me to just kind of go through them one by one?
Why don't you go through them one by one and then I'll fill in the gaps with the question.
So these questions assume that we all kind of know what's going on with my business model. So if you don't, we can save those questions for later. First question was, our lots in downtown Greenville are on the small side. Can you find enough lots that fit your size needs to be able to build these homes? And the answer is yes. We've been able to create a development model We're using existing zoning, existing setbacks, and the size of the housing and the structures that we're proposing. We can build those homes on a lot with minimum size of 65 by 125. That would be, it's about an 8,800 square foot lot. It would have to meet those minimum dimensions for us in order to get all of our structures on the property. We have identified probably 12, 15 lots right off the top of my head on Bush and also on Kinder Road that would allow for these kind of developments, despite the fact that many of the lots in Greenville will not support this development because of the sizes are just very, very small. But there are at least 12, 15, 20, maybe more that are easily identifiable now that could be used. In addition, we're also looking at some vacant land that has the potential to be subdivided if we needed to go to that direction. But our intention would be to try to rebuild on lots that are currently existing, that currently have existing infrastructure, sewer, water, and power. Second question was, do we have photos of homes that we've already built that we can see? The answer is no, because we've not built any of these multi. I want to see how I use this word. We are building single-family homes that have 2 ADU units on the same parcels. I cannot use the expression triplex, but for all intention purposes, we are building our triplexes. They have that same effect. They are 3 units on a single-family lot. So when I say I'm not going to use that word triplex ever again because I'll get spanked. But that's what we're building. We haven't built any of them yet.
There is a building that is similar to this. It's on the corner of Bush and Main, I believe it is. It's the Rancherias building that actually has 3 buildings, 1 site. Ours would have 2 buildings, 1 site. So look at that as a case study.
And I have
So
artist
in your
renditions.
presentation, in your presentation, there are at least general, if I recall, there was kind of a general graphic of what this potentially could look like.
There are artist renditions based upon our drawings, yes, and you can see the elevations, you can see what they look like and what we're proposing, and I'll be happy to share those with you. Our next question is, how does our product hold up through wear and weather? All right, so let's talk about wear first. I am proposing, because of the lack of property management, that we will have to property manage our own properties. We don't have a choice. We are forced to do that. As a result, I will make sure that those properties are built in a way that is going to minimize my maintenance and my repairs, because that's where you lose money. First of all, I have been a professional spec and high-end residential builder in West Los Angeles for most of my life. My customers were celebrities, they were executives with the motion picture agencies, high net worth individuals, and I'm used to building at a very high level of quality and design. And what we have done in Paradise, just like what we would like to do in Greenville, is again introduce that same level of quality and workmanship into this community. It works for us two ways. Number one, it provides a really good product, easy to live in, easy to rent, easy to sell, but also it's going to reduce maintenance issues to the absolute minimum, which is not going to milk me to death over the next 15 years of my owning these properties. And as far as weather is concerned and quality, we intend to use SIP construction wherever possible. If you're not familiar with SIP construction is a panelized system that takes basically 2 sheets of plywood and sandwiches it together against about 6 to 8 inches of foam. And it creates a very, very strong structurally integral panel that can support a tremendous load. It is seismically strong. It is stronger than a typical wood frame, stick frame wall. And the best thing about it is it can be built off-site. So we can use the labor force that's available in other areas to maximize how many units that we can build at a given time, because we're not dependent on local labor in order to create the framing of our structures. And SIP construction is very high quality. The walls are perfectly straight. There's no bows, there's no imperfections, there's no bends, there's no knots. It gives you a really nice high quality finish on the inside and the outside. And that combined with our own inherent quality control means that we're going to be building high quality homes that will last a long time, because our intent is to hold these as landlords and as property owners for an extended period of time. We don't want to do that by building anything that would be substandard. Next question is there a way to make them look slightly different so they don't look exactly the same? The answer is yes. Our initial designs were for a more of a craftsman style finish on the first few phases. We want to change that up. We want to offer maybe a contemporary style design where basically we're using the same footprint and the same layout for interior walls and exterior walls, but by using different roofing, roof styles, and exterior finishes, we can make these buildings look different, so that it doesn't look like it's just cookie cutter, one boring one after another. Those can also be even for structures that are built using the same architectural style, by changing up the colorations, by using different color palettes on them, different landscaping, things like that will allow us to give the community, still keep it a distinct look and feel, while at the same time accomplishing our development goals. The next question was, how can we ensure that these units stay in the workforce attainable range? Every landlord wants to maximize what they can attain in rent. It's just that's inherent in the rental business. We have elected to change our development model considerably. And we had to do it because in order to make the financial model work, we had to reverse engineer this. And so the answer to that question is this. As developers, we are not looking to make a profit on a month-to-month basis from the underlying rents. We need the rents to be as low as they can, yet still cash flow our payments, interest, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. As long as we can cover those expenses, we've created a cash flow positive model that is sustainable for a long period of time without the need to continue raising rents. Now, does that mean rents will never increase? No, that doesn't mean that. But it means that as the landlord, we are trying to make deals with Seneca Health and with Plymouth District Hospital and Indian Valley, where they can lease these properties from us on a long-term basis on a fixed rate, knowing that those rates are going to stay stable for 3 to 5 years. And that allows those lessees to provide the workforce housing to their employees at any rate that they see fit for those employees. For instance, they might build housing as a component to their remuneration plan. You know, they could build it into their income stream, or they can charge them if let's say market rate was $1,500 a month for this unit, they might elect to charge them $1,200 a month and subsidize that rent. But we intend to keep rental rates as stable as possible on the properties that we are building for our own portfolio and managing, and that will allow them our tenants basically to offer that housing to their employees at the lowest possible rate. And we intend to do that for a projected period of time, because our goal is we want to hold these properties for the next 10 to 15 years, allow those properties to increase in value, and we make our money as developers on the back end. So where most developers want to get paid right up front by selling the houses that they build, getting the money and then moving on, our model is different. We are long-term players. We don't need the month-to-month income because we already have a business in Paradise, which is taking care of our needs and provides our cash flow and pays our bills. But we are producing a long-term portfolio of properties that we would own, that we manage and maintain, and we don't need to raise rents on a regular basis in order to cover our net. And as long as we're able to cover our net, we can reduce that income or those rental rates to whatever point we need to in order to just maintain cash flow positive.
Really quickly, Kelly, with that, that's part of the reason why we're looking at the rooted renters program of Placemates, to have these operate as separate programs where they benefit each other in the housing ecosystem. So the rented rooter program helps as a subsidization to the renters, both in potentially Kelly's properties or RRA's development properties, but other properties that could be developed or underutilized housing stock. Say somebody has a house that they're just not looking at renting because they believe that they can't get market rate for it. That's where rented renters comes in, starts to make that market competitive and pulling that housing stock in. So again, these three targeted areas each act as like a Venn diagram towards our housing ecosystem, both renters, owners, potential owners with the sale of the lease to own model and trio, and actually developing the housing stock, which is our kind of root problem, is we need to get housing stock into the ecosystem as fast as possible. So again, think of those as operating well together. Kelly?
Okay, good. The next question is, how can you ensure that there are no negative effects on the local contractor economy? Okay, let me answer it this way. We are big proponents with keeping money in the community wherever possible. That would be a goal of ours, is to try to return money or maintain money circulating in the local economy as we can. At the same time, I get feedback from people that we meet with saying that if you are depending upon the builders in the local economy, we have concerns because we've hired many of these builders and we're not necessarily really pleased with their workmanship or quality of work. And I'm not speaking to that being yes or no. I have a concern that whoever works on my properties has to maintain the highest of workmanship levels and quality and service. So that there's two ways to answer this question. The first way is we can make sure that there is no hindrance on the availability of local work craftsmen to continue building and managing the local development and remodel and needs that the community has come to expect. You rely upon these local vendors to remodel your bathrooms and your kitchens and do your roofing and do your septic systems, whatever it is. We do not want to impinge on that or draw down on that because we realize there is a limited workforce. At the same time, we have a trained workforce that consists of larger subcontractors who could come in there and do our construction as we need to bring those people in. So a typical development would be, I would bring in my earth moving, all my guys who dig the dirt and grade the lots and build our foundations and pour our concrete. That's one big crew. Those guys could come in. We want to do a minimum of 3 projects at a time. That's 9 rental units we want to build at a time. Well, we would have to make sure that any local labor that we used had the capacity to come in there and fulfill those needs. And if they couldn't, then we would bring in our contractors from outside. Most of our contractors would come from Chico or Oroville or Sacramento. And the idea would be to use one major contractor to do our major issues, grading and concrete. Then our framers come in, electrical, plumbing, roofers, and they can be sourced from either in the community or they could be brought from outside of the community. The idea is to make sure that we don't deplete local resources, but that we also keep our standards and our schedule on track, and we keep our workmanship as high as possible. And one more question that they have is, how can we ensure that these units can be built quickly and with quality? Okay, I addressed that a little bit with our SIP panel construction. We also are considering using wall panel construction. It's not SIP. These are pre-constructed wall panels that's made by a company called Integra out of Modesto. Basically, they put your building plans in their computer, and they have $100 million factory in Modesto that must be about 100,000 square feet. Literally, one guy feeds in 20-foot lumber into the machines, and the machines cut out that lumber. They spit out wall sections, which are automatically assembled by a machine, a computer. They're nailed off, and they come out the other end as a complete wall section, perfectly engineered for your design of your plans. And that is a very common way that tract home builders build their homes now. So we could use either SIP construction or panelized construction, which number one assures us of efficiency, guarantees our prices, locks them in, and creates a very high quality wall, because those walls are all built in jigs off-site in a factory under controlled conditions. And so those are two of the ways that we can guarantee that we can meet our development goals as far as timeline is concerned, and also, more important, quality. Those were the questions that I had. If anyone else has any specific questions, I'm more than happy to address them.
Yeah, so just a couple things. There's a couple questions that were written in before. One I do want to, or there's a couple that I want to get to. One is, Kelly, are you willing to share like a detailed spreadsheet showing pricing, insurance rates, how this actually works with the members? Specifically, they're interested in ideas of property donation, like local property members, if they could donate the property toward equity. If we could share that and kind of articulate how we could see not just the DFC steering committee, but individuals potentially on the DFC.
Okay, let me answer that question first. In order to raise the money, we're trying to raise equity capital. The reason why we need to raise equity capital is because we need to spread the risk and the reward and the return on investment over the entire community, so that not one person like myself or one entity or one company has all the risk and thus bears the entire burden of financing this for the community. And in order to do that, we've created a preferred stock offering where a person would make an investment to RRA, and as part of the return on investment, they would be getting a quarterly dividend. And normally you would do that where people would write a check and they would subscribe to the offering. But we're also considering allowing people who have buildable lots or property that would work for our purposes here to be able to exchange that lot or the value of that lot for preferred stock, which now pays a dividend. And why is that important? Because if you are sitting on a piece of land that is now currently undeveloped because it either burned down or it's been vacant for forever, you're paying taxes on that property. You may be paying insurance on that property, and you've got maintenance on that property to clear it from weeds and debris and snow and all those things. So it is a non-performing asset. And what we are trying to do is give people the opportunity to exchange a non-performing asset for a performing one, which would be preferred stock. And you would hold that preferred stock until we, as the developers, would take you out as the investors, which we're anticipating is, the investment timeline horizon is at least 5 years. But during that time, you would get a preferred dividend every single quarter. And so, yes, that's one way that we could accept land or lots in exchange for a stock. You would get the return on investment being a preferred dividend, and then eventually you would get the entire value of that stock returned to you in cash. So you'd have both. You get your money back, but you would also get a preferred dividend. We would get the lot. We don't have to raise quite as much money now because we can reduce our cash requirements down because we don't have to use it to spend preferred. So that's one question. Tyler, can you just rephrase the second part of that question, which I'm sorry I missed?
I think that covered the most of it. The question is do you have an Excel spreadsheet of the financial model, and are you willing to share that?
Yes. Yes. The answer is that I have an Excel spreadsheet. If you know me, as Tyler does, I'm the Excel king. Everything gets projected out on a month-to-month projection as far as costs, cash flow, so we can kind of see where we are at any given moment. That's how we came up with the number of $5 billion. We realized what our cash flow requirement was going to be over the next 60 months, and so we project this in. As far as the actual construction costs are concerned, we use a program called Xactimate. Xactimate is a estimating software program that's used by insurance companies all across the United States. And it gives an actual line item breakdown of every single component that is in that house. The cost of the roofing, the trusses, the insulation, the drywall, the electrical, the appliances, the carpet, the doorknobs, the railings on the stairs. Every single component of that house has a separate code and a separate price. And that's my job, is to compile an estimate where I'm able to establish exactly what my costs are going to be on a line item basis to build these houses. So I'm estimating that the line item estimate I don't have in front of me is probably somewhere about 400 or 500 line items that I've come up with. And I'm willing to share that. We're not here to hide costs by any means, because my profit is on the back end. I'm not trying to make money on my development costs. So yes, I'm more than happy to share that along with our Excel cash flow forecasts. And there's something I would do on a one-on-one basis, because I won't publish that, but I will get by all means happy to share it with anyone who would be interested in participating.
So there's one more question that I'd like to run past, because this has been brought up before. And then I'd also, Patrick, if we have time for maybe 1 or 2 live questions for people. After this, anyone can submit questions to Patrick, myself, Kelly. We'd love to document these and make sure that the learning is moving forward for everyone. It's not just one person learning and we're responding to it, but really developing these. So if we need to do video, whatever works best for everyone, if we need to do video recordings of the questions and answers, if people learn better from audio and video, then happy to do that. Just let us know. So the last question, this has come up before. The model assumes the home will appraise for more than it costs to build. This may not be the case. The average cost of a finished home in Indian Valley is around $350K, but the model assumes the new home in Greenville will appraise for over $700K. What if the new home appraises for $350? Who is taking the loss?
That's okay. Excellent question. When it comes to building the financial model, we have to have certain assumptions, and certain assumptions based upon the appraised value upon completion it's right now, I will be very honest and say it is a moving target. The reason why is we cannot tell, because we have not built any of these yet, exactly how they will be appraised by an appraiser. So this has been our approach. In the town of Paradise, the average house is being appraised at between $260,000 to $270,000. That it would be a completed three-bed, let's just use a 3-bedroom, 1,300 square foot house. 1,400 square foot house is running about $260 to $270 as new construction. And it's based upon the total amount of square footage, not based upon how many bedrooms. It's really broken down by number of square feet. So what we have elected to do is we've taken that number of 270 and we've increased it just slightly to $280 a square foot. And the reason why is we are not building just one house with one kitchen and one bathroom. We are building a house that has 3 kitchens and 5 bathrooms. And so we're not comparing apples to apples, and we think that $280 a square foot, which we're using as our assumptions, is realistic. And that's one of our next steps as we start closing the loop as to bringing in our takeout financing, is getting together with the appraisers and the banks to work out a relationship where we have some kind of a pre-agreed valuation that we can work with before we ever start turning dirt. Because if we get done with a house that costs us $600,000, $630,000 to build, and it's only appraising for $350,000, we have a big problem because we will not be able to refinance that house. In order for our model to work, we have to be able to refinance the house at no more than 75% loan to value. Now, because that's the kind of golden goose for a bank to provide a single family, non-owner occupied mortgage, which is what we're going to need in order to refinance these houses. We have to refinance the house because we refinance the house, use those proceeds to develop the next set of houses, the next phases. So appraisals are very important to us that we get the right number. Because if we don't get the right number, let's say assuming that's $705,000 I've been using in my current models, what if it only came in at $650,000? That means I would have to take $65,000 out of my working capital to buy down that mortgage rate to the point where it buy down the mortgage amount so that it does not exceed 75% loan to value. And in addition, what we're already planning on doing is buying down the interest rate. So the current interest rate for non-owner occupied single family homes is about 6.5%. We want to buy that down to 4.5%. And by doing so, that's how we create a positive cash flow. And that's how by reducing our mortgage costs down as low as possible, we reduce the amount of money that we have to charge in rents in order to make this a cash flow positive and make it viable for both the community and for us as developers. Does that answer the question, Tyler?
Yeah, thank you for that, Kelly. Also, thanks for addressing these questions and your wealth of knowledge and interest in working with the community. It's not an easy problem to solve.
It has not been an easy problem to solve. And I would just like to say that this is not, we don't look at this as the solution for the housing problem in this county. It is a solution that works. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for a portion of the community, which is really, really important. And that is for employers who have a shortage of employee in workforce housing and need to generate economic development for the community, but are hamstrung by the fact that there's no place for their new workers to live and occupy. And so we think it's a good place to start. And that's what it is. It's a start. And I'm really happy to be considered, as kind of being the first guy putting his feet in the pond here.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly and Tyler and Josh for just the additional background information. There's a lot here. There's a lot of meat on the bones. I know we started 2 weeks ago. Here we have another installment. So this is all helpful. We've been at it for about 50 minutes, 50 minutes. And so the preparatory questions were good because I think that helped kind of prime everything here. Marcia, thank you for waiting patiently. I know that you have a question, so I think we'll go to Marcia and then maybe wrap up with any additional final questions or comments, just because we do have some other business to get onto. But Marcia, go ahead, and then if anybody else from the committee has a question, please raise your hand, and I'll come to you next. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
will the houses have solar? Since California is asking for all new building to have solar.
Yes, they will have solar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we in Paradise, we were able to get that waived, but we intend to put solar on these houses. Now, I know that there's talk in the community of possibly putting a bioreactor or creating a hot water loop or something like this. Ours would simply enhance whatever else the community puts in, but we intend to make it as attractive as possible. One of the things I'm considering, I don't know, it's still just a thought in my head, is going to PG&E and seeing if we can get PG&E to donate the panels for the homes. And if we were able to do that, what we could do is use them to offset the tenant's electrical bill, not the landlord's electrical bill, but pass those savings on to tenants. And that would be ideal if we're able to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. And Danny's got one more question. Could someone purchase one of these properties after they are constructed, or will there be a time limit? Question mark.
The answer to that is we are willing to build these 3-unit developments on any person's lot that would like to have this, like one of these houses. We do not have to be the landlord owner when this is done. We are willing to offer these services to the community. Now, obviously, we offer it as with there's a profit component, because now we need to make our money as the builder developer. So the price point will be slightly higher. But yes, we are willing to either build these units and then sell them, provided we had a guaranteed buyer, or we could build them on any person's land who would like to have a 2 or 3 bedroom primary dwelling and also have rental income from 2 additional units to offset their mortgage. We will do that all day long. The key here is to try to build as many units as possible, whether it's for my portfolio or for anyone else's holdings or portfolio. By the more that we can build at any one given time, the lower we can bring the cost of development down, because we have scales of efficiency that we can spread. So as long as we can keep those scales of efficiency in place, whether I'm building for my own portfolio, I'm building for someone else's portfolio, doesn't matter to me. I just want to get out there and build as many of these houses as we can.
One note on that too, what started this was initially a sales model. We were looking for a way to actually make homes more affordable. And one way of doing that is adding rental units to the property, because then you can offset your mortgage with the rental incomes from the ADUs. Particularly like those in 20s and 30s, because they can't afford on their own salaries the mortgage, what they're looking for is duplexes and triplexes to buy, so they can offset their mortgage with the rentals in those properties. And so it's stepping into a market base that's actually needed right now to make houses affordable to the primary dwelling owner.
Danny, did that answer your question, or was your question more specifically thinking that they would be built as spec and then someone could purchase if they chose to after the fact?
Well, it sort of answers the question. I was just wondering if they wanted to apparently hold it to get more return on the investment as opposed to selling it outright. And it sounds like you're going to cook the investment loss into the sale price. You would have to, otherwise it's a loss.
Kelly?
I'm not sure exactly what I'm being asked there. Can you just re-ask that question, Danny, and I'll try to.
Well, you did state, and I believe I did hear you say that you would be willing to sell what you built, but then it would be for an adjusted cost. It seemed like you would still want to try to recoup some of the projected investment returns.
Yeah, so so there's two ways I could build this model. The model that the least expensive way to the community is if we held the property as landlords, because then I am just basing what I have to use in work in capital to my actual cost, my cost of land improvements and construction. But if someone wants to own this property, then if they were to hire a contractor to build that for them, they would have to pay the market rate for that contractor to build that, whether they hired me or someone else. I'm willing to do it for a negotiated rate, but I would have to make money on that because my back end means I don't own that property when it's done. And so hence I'm getting paid on the front end as opposed to getting paid on the back end. And if someone wants, I'm just going to throw out a number. Just don't I said my development costs are about $620,000, including land. Let's say I built this property, let's say I built it for $750,000, and someone wanted to get a mortgage on that and rent out both units. The mortgage would be higher because the cost of development is higher. They're buying it from me on an accelerated rate. So their break even would be different than my break even. I'm trying to get a cash flow neutral, but now you're no longer renting your primary unit because you're living in it and you're only renting out the other 2 units. So there's still going to be an out of pocket for you every single month. But the advantage of if you rented that 1 bedroom, let's say for $1,000 a month, and the detached ADU for $1,500 a month, you now have $2,500 a month to apply towards your own mortgage, and the bank will allow you to allocate 75% of that number towards your qualification for that mortgage. So if you find yourself you're right on the edge, you can't qualify for a single family home. But if you added an ADU or you added 2 ADUs to it, you might find that you can qualify very easily for that house because there's enough monthly cash flow to offset any negative that you would have if it was just a single family residence.
All right. Does that help, Danny?
To a degree, and this is going to be a rat hole for everybody else, I think. But it basically is, I was just thinking if somebody wanted to give you 100% of the value of that house, and you had that 100% of the value of the house, went off and purchased more or build more, as opposed to the 75% you're going to get by refinancing. So, but I think we have to take this off somewhere else.
Well,
Losing people.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes, but the answer is how many people in Plumas County can afford to buy a house for $800,000 right now, and where are they? I haven't found one, so I'm not going to put $800,000 in a house and wait for someone to come to buy it. I might wait for 3 years, 5 years. Even in Paradise, in that community, we got stuck with housing that we could not sell. And we kept dropping the price. We still couldn't sell it. There were no buyers for housing at that price point. And so we decided we had to create a different model. And that's why we're talking what we're talking about now.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. Good questions and great answers, and definitely appreciate it. I did include the email addresses for Josh, Kelly, and Tyler in the chat. So team, that'll be there. If you want to follow up independently with any more that you have as we conclude on this. So once again, Josh, Kelly, and Tyler, thanks for joining us today. We're going to continue on with some other topics. You're more than welcome to hang out if you'd like, but we're going to move on. So thank you. Oh, Tyler, you're muted. Thank you, Josh. Yep. Kelly, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Next, housing, I have too many meetings in my head. Next steering committee meeting is when we'd come back to the RRA development model, as well as review a bit about the placemate rooted renters, as well as the TRIO program, which already exists in the county, but we're looking at activating through this. So if you take a bit of time diving into those and send over any questions you have, we'll try to have those addressed before the meeting so we can have more live questions.
And that meeting, just for your all's knowledge, is scheduled for November 4th, Monday, November 4th. First Monday of November. All right. Thanks so much.
I think so.
Thanks,
Right.
everybody.
All right. See you, Josh.
Yeah, so that was a good hour. And that's a lot of information. So it's a lot to digest. So by all means, if you have questions, please direct them to that team. They can answer them more specifically as they come up. All right. All right. So the next item, I received this back over the weekend, Saturday. It is from Bill Hubbard. I sent it out to everybody this morning. So Bill took a look at the, let me back up a little bit. This is specifically about the partnership agreement. As a community statutory partner, North Valley Community Foundation as our fiscal sponsor, and then as the DFC being a component group of North Valley Community Foundation, be a community partner as the Indian Valley Community Services District is applying for the EPA Community Change Grant. The document that I sent you had some changes. If you looked at most of them, you would see that Bill updated it just to say instead of subchapter that we are a component group rather. There was an issue with the order of the acronyms of both DFC and NVCF in a couple places. The meat of this is really in Article 7, which is the last article. And Bill added some phrasing there. That Article 7 already spoke about termination of the agreement. If there was a need to terminate the partnership at any point, how that process would go. So Bill added a few things that he took out of both his own understanding of these items plus California law. So one piece that he added is also indemnification and a hold harmless clause for both entities. But then also just articulated the termination agreement to be a 90-day notice prior to termination, which I think is, doable if there would be a need that arose for us to terminate any type of agreement. We just give them 3 months out of notification. We can do that. Article 5, if you look 2 articles up, there is the an article of severability that describes that either component can sever the agreement if need be. Bill's take on this is that it's fairly, it just puts the agreement in writing. There would be no liability absorbed here. Plus, there's also nothing, it doesn't cost us anything. And for the CSD, it allows them to have a community-based organization as they continue to work on their grant. And then we'll get a copy of the draft grant proposal before they submit it. One of the items that I did want to address, though, is, and why I have it on the agenda and as discussion and possible action, is that the steering committee would vote to approve the partnership. So that can be incorporated in our minutes, and I can deliver that over to the grant writing firm, Arcadis, that's writing the grant, just so they have it that this agreement is done, and that the bottom components it would be signed by Adam Cox, the general manager at the Indian Valley Community Services District. It would also be signed by North Valley Community Foundation, and then Dixie Fire Collaborative as a component group. Is there any need for discussion? We talked about this 2 weeks ago, and then this is the updated version.
I think we're good.
Am I coming through? I'm getting used to the phone here.
No problem.
My concern is that, like in reading it, it looked like the community service district would have complete control over the monies that came in, and Adam Cox was just the general manager of the fire department that just went belly up. I would really like to see some sort of citizen advisory committee or control committee on top of this, a layer.
All right.
So I can elaborate on the fire department with belly up. The reason that fire department went belly up is because Adam Cox actually discovered that financial problem when he came aboard to be the Chester Public Utilities District General Manager at the similar time that he started working with the CSD. And once he got into the finances of this CPUD is when he realized that the fire department was insolvent because of the way that it had been managed for 15 years previously. So that's why. And that's very well documented. That's not conjecture. Those are facts, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So that he because of Adam's work, he was like, wow, we are $1.8 million in the hole because the CPUD had not been collecting a tax assessment at all in order to pay for a professional fire department in the right way. And so they had mismanaged their financial accounting for 15 years. That's why. That's all.
Okay. I still would like for all of this stuff would like to have some sort of citizen oversight on it personally.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a town government in Greenville. And so the citizen oversight is that the Indian Valley Community Services District has a 5-person board, just like any special district. So they have a board of directors, and they are the civilian or the citizen oversight that is on that 5-person board.
And these are different people than the ones that let everything $600,000 get embezzled before I got here, right?
They are different people, yes.
All right.
But these are fair questions, Greg. I mean, like there was embezzlement at the CSD, and I think also the IVRPD over the last decade. But no, you're absolutely right to bring it up, and it is a concern. And so of note, though, both of those special districts, all their money is now accounted for with the county. So when they have money that they bring in, it's maintained in a county account as opposed to anything separate. Plumas County. And so the auditor controller for the county has oversight of that as well. And the CSD recently hired their own auditor controller so that they have somebody managing the books internally. And then that has regular reporting as well. So I'm just saying that your questions are founded, but in an effort to clean up, to make sure that they do have their financial house in order, they've heavied up on the processes and procedures and the personnel that they have working with them.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a concern. Since I've been here, I can't believe how much embezzlement I've seen, like in the county.
Yeah, no. And then there's there are concerns with anybody in a public position handling money.
Well, I mean, it's a way more than the couple of $1 million that the fire collaborative had. It's a lot of money, and it's a big project.
Yeah,
lots of places for things to go slightly askew or get padded in weird ways, or so.
Yeah, but we also can't. I mean, like I said, and I appreciate your concern, and like I said, it's 100% valid. But we also can't make assertions or allegations that are unfounded, right? There's
no, I completely agree.
Like we can't just baselessly like claim something that's never occurred, that hasn't occurred with these people and with this oversight, you know.
Right. I completely agree. I just want to have some sort of stopgap in there so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
That's all.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yep.
Okay. That's my point.
Yeah, and it's it's a good one. It's a good one, Greg. I mean, it definitely presumes like some type of oversight, but hence why they do have a board that continues to monitor, and then other officials as well. What other comments, team?
I'd be willing to vote yes for it. I think it's a great thing for our community.
Okay, Marcia, did you want to
Make a motion.
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion, yeah. That that the DFC votes to say that we're going to be part of their plan and their organization. But-
Okay, so to be specifically the statutory partner
Yes, you
on
can,
their application.
yes.
On the CSD application. And Greg, some of this too, I mean, at the end of the day, they have to still get awarded the grant. They haven't received anything. So it is an uphill battle on these grants.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the thing. I'm just overly cautious based on the history that I've seen and the amount of time that I've been here.
Yeah, I don't know. Good point.
I'll just kind of echo or amplify what I'm hearing Greg say, or maybe put words in his mouth. I would like to believe, I'd like to understand that the ICVSC would listen to the DFC and take any input into account.
I think they will. Yeah, there's
Well,
no
I just
reason. I mean,
want to make sure that's solidly understood. Otherwise, I don't want to just be a doormat for them.
yeah.
Could that be written into the agreement?
I mean, I think it is in terms of roles and responsibilities as to, like right here, there is a bullet, coordinate activities between the IVCSD staff, NVCF, and the Kona Group DFC and other collaborating entities to achieve the project goals. That's in the agreement right now as it stands. And then here's another one, facilitate evaluative measures to assess capability and identify methods for improving the building management and emerging issues and responses. Oversee the planning and the design of the town center complex, including but not limited to engineering drawings, detailed specifications, and cost estimates. So I think, some of those components are in there. And then there's specifically as it relates to us, assign the DFC to act as the local anchor with the strong geographical presence to connect residents in Greenville, Indian Falls, Canyon Dam, Warner Valley, and the surrounding areas in Plumas County, which is taken right from our mission statement, by the way, to all the community engagement, governance, and outreach outlined in the submitted CCPG application.
I'm not sure exactly what that means. Yeah, I mean, that all sounds good, but if we see something going on, can we jerk the chain?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that Adam understands that. I think that's what Greg's saying.
I'll make
Yeah,
sure that it's
basically,
clear.
yeah.
I'll make sure that it's clear.
All right.
I had a motion from Marcia. May I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Lida. And we'll do a roll call vote. Marcia Roby,
Yes,
Lida Scoggin,
Yes.
Greg Walsh.
Okay.
Can you just give me can you give me an affirmative?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Danny Steyer,
Yes.
Shelby Long,
Yes.
and Matt Fogarty.
Yes.
All right, thank you all very much. All right, next item is coordinators update. These are just some items that I have for you just to kind of keep you aware of some things. Last week at the Board of Supervisors meeting, speaking of IVCSD, Adam Cox did request over $2 million for two respective projects. One was the Greenville Safety Center, so that it once again includes the fire department, the PDH contracted ambulance service barracks or quarters, and a sheriff's substation. And then also additional funding for planning on the community center. With regard to the safety center, the Board of Supervisors had said that they are supportive of it and they will look to contribute a dollar amount in some way, shape, or form. That dollar amount still has not been determined. So it may be $1 million, it may be $1.5 million. And this would be this would be defined from their insurance settlement. The county had said that they had received $1.7 million in insurance for the lost building that was essentially the co-located fire department and town hall, the library, and the substation. At that same Board of Supervisors meeting, they had a closed session meeting where another dollar amount was briefed, I guess, around that insurance settlement, and maybe more than $1.7 million. So the idea is, since those buildings were lost as a result of the fire, that the insurance money would, there's a direct line to say A plus B equals C here. Use the money to help with the overall bill. The CSD estimates a $6 to $7 million bill for their new fire station. Today, at least I saw it today, it may have been a little bit sooner. I'll put a link to it. There's a link in the Plymouth Sun, and I'll put it here in the chat, that has the story. Jane Braxton Little, she goes to the supervisors meetings and she usually covers that beat to then report out what the issues were. But actually, she says it right here, is that after nearly 3 years of negotiations, the supervisors emerged from the October 15th closed session to announce that they had accepted a $3.177 million insurance settlement. So that's about $1.4 million more than initially thought. The money is also available as a potential source of funding for the Indian Valley projects, Hagwood said. Yeah, so there's the potential right there that that insurance money will be contributed to one or both of these projects. Sheriff Johns was supportive in the meeting of describing that if the county as an extension and the sheriff's department as a extension of the county went on their own to try to rebuild their own facility, they'd at least be paying $3 or $4 million singularly. So if the county can contribute a percentage, maybe 10, 15, 20% of the overall build cost up front, and then pay a reasonable long-term lease for the space, they're probably getting out at a cheaper dollar amount than if they went it alone, especially given the long-term ownership and maintenance of the building, of which they've expressed a lack of interest in doing. Nothing against them. It sounds like they don't want to necessarily build anything that they would have to maintain up here, since the preponderance of their maintenance staff is in Quincy. So that's one issue that will continue to develop. And November 5th is the next Board of Supervisors meeting. It'll be the first one in November, and presumably there will be an agenda item on that Board of Supervisors agenda to move one way or the other on this issue. This weekend is our community meeting. It'll be this Saturday at the library. That's confirmed all that last Friday. And most of this presentation it'll be time devoted to the University of Texas research, or North Texas rather, research committee. Their involvement here definitely predates mine. I met them briefly, I think, right when I came aboard. Then they were wrapping up their findings. And what their findings are generally on fire recovery writ large, but specifically housing. I think it comes at a great time that they can deliver some of their research assessment and data at a time that we are talking about housing so much. I met Ronnie and Marcia. You can help me out a little bit, because I think you introduced me to them, and Sherry, I know you were involved as well. Ronnie Schumann was one of the researchers, and then there was a woman, Sherry, I can't remember, her last name escapes me. Oh gosh, what was her name? Sherry Prokop Binder, that's her name. Prokop, yeah. And so they are on kind of a whistle-stop tour of the area. They will be, where else are they going? They're going after they leave us, I think they're going to the Sonoma area to share their findings there. Correction. This Wednesday, they're in Santa Rosa, yeah. And then Middletown, California, then they'll be with us on Saturday. And then Sunday, they shoot over to Paradise. So between those four communities, Santa Rosa, California, Middletown, California, Greenville, California, Paradise. Middletown, I'm not familiar with Middletown. Does anybody know what fire was there?
Yeah, great part of Middletown burned down. Grocery stores, churches, and that was, gosh, about 8 years ago, maybe.
Was it? Okay. I see that definitely the pictures. Middletown looks like it is close to
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, just south of there. Okay. Yep. And just north of Calistoga. Okay. So it's right, it's like, oh, it's Middletown. It's smack dab in the middle between the two of them. How about that? All right. Well, that's interesting. So they're just kind of barnstorming, and they're sharing out their findings and their data. So yeah, I think it's nice to have some of this, just a different perspective, and to kind of see how that can help us here. But they've asked for about an hour, hour and a half. They've got a full presentation to give, so I think that'll be interesting. And we were going to do a little like cookout type thing. And it doesn't look like we're not. One is like lack of participation. There's a lot going on that day. So simultaneously to our meeting, the Dixie Fire Canopy Project is hosting a pet parade here at the spot at noon. The Dawn Institute is hosting their fall apple squeeze from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. At the Dawn Institute in Indian Falls. And then Greenville Elementary School has their fall carnival from 4 to 7. And I believe there were a number of organizations that are providing activities and games and just setting up booths for that. So really just couldn't get a critical mass of people that, and it makes sense. It's good because people are doing stuff out in our community. So we will reattack on that some other time. But I did attend last week a meet and greet, a nonprofit meet and greet hosted by the Amador Foundation at the Rock and Gem Museum here in Taylorsville. They were circulating around just to introduce themselves, but also help stoke partnerships and conversations from one nonprofit or community organization to another. So that was good. I was able to kind of talk about some of the things that we as the Dixie Fire Collaborative have been working on, but then also really being able to hear what other groups are working on. And for Keston Sherry, Leanne Schrammel was there. She sat right next to me. So she spoke on behalf of, well, a lot of things, but definitely the Rotary. And she spoke on behalf of the museum, I think, the Cy Hall Museum. Streetscape Committee, Plymouth Arts, Feather River. No, they changed their name. They were the Feather River Tourism Board. Now I think they're the Plymouth County Tourist Group or something. But anyway, she spoke on behalf of all those. So we're wearing a lot of hats. Anyway, but she made a good pitch for Rotary. So, and then Cher Schwartz was there as well, and she wears a few of those hats, and so she was advocating as well. RSF process. So Friday, another RSF meeting hosted by Tracy Ferguson down at the Mineral Building. That went pretty well. It's really the field went from 53 projects 2.5 years ago, and it's been winnowed down to 27. And then Tracy sort of consolidated a few projects that kind of had overlapping themes or outcomes. So really, we're talking about 22 long-term recovery plan projects that have been in the works since January of 2022. So over 2.5 years now. On that, just talked about the community center and the fire center, the fire department. Greenville Rancheria, their special use permit, their amendment to the special use permit to start their build is on the agenda for the zoning commission. They should be voting on that soon. And then when that amendment is approved, then the Rancheria can move ahead with their building plans. So that's good. There was a kind of a broad brush topic when we talked about water habitat, wildlife, and then also forest recovery. And so there's kind of a large bin that's very general in terms, but wanted to kind of follow up Lida with you and Friends of Warner Valley with just some of the long-term projects y'all are already have investigated and would like to implement, or things that have been implemented, just to round that out a little bit. And we can do that via email. But I wanted to make sure that that was on the front burner in underneath that project heading. If that works for you.
Sure.
And then the big thing is just that this is codified in a long-term report. And so the county had contracted with a group called Minter Harnish that's developing that. They're a consulting group that's doing the graphic design. And they're putting it together. And I'm recommending that we have the draft done before the holidays, or at least with the holidays, so it doesn't get moved off post holidays, and then it's just it just adds more time to where it can get in front of the Board of Supervisors for final approval. And then there's a unifying codified document that articulates these projects as the county long-term recovery plan. The county is also part of this process, is that they're also looking to hire a long-term recovery coordinator for 3 years at the county level, and that person would work in the CAO's office, so would work directly with or for Deborah Lucero. And so that job description and position should be coming available here in December. And it's funded for 3 years. Lastly, the community supper. So I had volunteered the Dixie Fire Collaborative Steering Committee for a community supper occasion back in May. And our date is December 15th, which is a Monday. Correction, December 16th. December 16th is the date. It's that 1, 2, 3, third Monday of December. Recommended location for this is at the Taylorsville Historic Hall in Taylorsville. Destiny Bloxham is now the community supper coordinator. So I spoke to her the other day. They provide all the paper products, utensils, plates, etc. We're just really responsible for the food. So I don't know that we need to decide on this right now, but start thinking about some options that we can prep for food wise. It's the holiday time frame, so there could be some holiday themes of food choices that we go with. I know that a perennial go-to for the community supper is often like a pasta dinner or chili or things like that. That's always good. It always seems to be a crowd favorite. Or we could do something, again, more holiday themed, like maybe a turkey and a ham or potatoes or something. I'm down for anything. So
They're doing chili and cornbread this month.
yeah, that's right there. Of course,
Yeah.
I think it's actually tonight.
I think you're right.
At the Taylorsville Historic Hall, and I think it's a Taylorsville Museum that is hosting or sponsoring. But anyway, just start brainstorming. I think maybe by the first November meeting, we can probably start to target in on what we'd like to provide, and then I can go get the ingredients or get whatever needs to happen, and then we'll just figure it out and have a good hearty dinner. Greg, I know that you were interested in potentially doing some of your toy drive pieces. I was going to put you in direct contact with Destiny, and you and she can just work out how that concept can.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. I mean, and some help like decorating the stage and stuff, because that's a whole thing independent of decorating the hall.
Yeah, yeah, sounds
So-
good.
All right. Yeah, good. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. All right. It is 4:40. I'd like to, any questions on anything I just discussed? Danny, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's not on anything you discussed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions in general?
Yes, I have a question. Is I noticed when I was up going up into Round Valley to do some fishing that for some reason there's a sign up there, please catch and release. And who put the sign up and why? And it didn't appear to have any sort of regulation put on that. And who owns Round Valley and can do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't seen that sign. I'll ask around. So the Round Valley ownership is kind of interesting. So there's Forest Service land up to a specific spot for day use, right?
Right.
And then as you continue to head over to the east side, then there's private property. When you're on the south
Right.
side, there's more private property with the Sierra Pacific Industries.
Right.
And then you come around to the west side, there's still some more private property, private homes and whatnot. And then the actual water, so because up until 2012, since it was the town's water source and it was managed by Indian Valley Community Services District as the town's water source and hasn't been since 2012. I do believe that they still have water rights. The CSD still does as a secondary means for water. And that's actually going into the Master Infrastructure Utilities Plan for the fire suppression plan, so that the potable water stays as such via well water, and then the water for irrigation and fire suppression could come out of the reservoir. But I'll ask around. I hadn't seen that. I haven't been up there in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, you can't miss it unless somebody took it down because you come right up and it's before you turn left to right, it's right on the tree right in front of you.
Could have been a local activist.
Yeah, it will disappear, I've been told.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions or comments?
So I guess right back to the is also the requirement of no one walking in the water, getting in the water. Is the water free to swim in and everything else now at Round Valley?
So that's actually one of the things that the CSD is working on, an information campaign, because theoretically it should be, right? It's sort of
Right.
this urban myth that you couldn't even dip a toe inside the water because it's drinking water, but it's not. So, and it's also treated. So
Right.
that's another issue that hasn't necessarily been addressed.
But it was not an urban myth. There was signs up there for a long time.
There still are signs, and so I
Yes,
made
it
the
can be.
recommendation that a step in the right direction would be to take down the signs.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to, dispel any sort that, they're unnecessary. But like a lot of things, they've been hanging there for an extra 12 years, unnecessarily so.
A press release
and
through the Plymouth Sun would be good too.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Anyway, all right, thanks.
Yep. And I mean, I think, right now it's a little chilly up there. But I think, yeah, getting ready for the 25 swimming season and kayaking and canoeing and fishing. I'm with you, Danny. I think there's a lot of opportunity up there for it to be more of a recreational hotspot, which would also be a good economic driver for the area. And I think actually the Indian Valley Parks and Recreation District was interested in doing something up there specifically around recreational programming on that front, to make it a place, a destination recreation setting,
Right.
so that it can be utilized to its fullest potential.
Yeah. Because part of the regulation, you could not use inflatable devices on there. It had to be hard sided. There's a whole lot of stuff that, was known and propagated and probably was on those signs too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up, Danny. Yes, Marcia.
Will you be making a poster, or will Taylor be doing that for this Saturday's meeting?
I'll make one. I sent out an email today, and I'll put a screenshot on the Facebook, and then I'll put some flyers up out.
Okay, send one to me. I usually try to put one up in the bank in Quincy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. Danny, do you have anything that you wanted to provide to the group?
Yes, so as far as the treasurer's report, I'm assuming would be a good thing. So
Treasurer's report or anything else as a
Yeah.
as a committee?
So I've got, we have interest of $5,641.25, which came in. So that puts it over $3,116,265.23 is what we have as income. And our current balance is $1,652,914.97 is what our current balance is in that. But I did get I sent out and got from Taylor his invoices, so that's $900 of invoices are not, that will have to come out of that. And I'll cook that in before our meeting, and I will send out an update, which we could discuss at our next community meeting on Saturday. So that's what I have. No big changes. I guess Patrick thought I was going to talk longer, so. I don't know if anybody else. Patrick. Oh.
Should we move to adjourn in his absence?
Well, I guess what I would think you might want to, see if anybody else has inputs, and it could be recorded because this is being recorded. He could listen to
Yeah.
the recordings.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, sorry about that. Just had to check on something. I thought somebody was out front here. So Marcia, anything?
Nope.
Nope, nothing from Lida.
No.
Greg, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the team?
No, I'm all good.
Okay, great. Shelby, anything for the group?
No, all good.
All right. And Matt, anything for the team?
No, all good, thanks.
All right. Well, great. Thank you all for attending today. And thank you for your contributions and the continued discourse around these difficult subjects, but completely necessary. And there's nothing wrong with. I just once again I like to bring this up, especially as we get ready for a community meeting. There's absolutely nothing wrong with disagreement or dissenting opinion at all. All that's very healthy. Just as long as we continue to keep civility at the forefront and not make personal or character attacks or impugn anybody or hold somebody in contempt just for fun. That everybody's just doing their best and contributing where they think they can, and opinions are strong, and that's good, and facts matter too. So anyway, thank you all very much, and let's see, it is 4:48, and with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you,
Marcia seconds it.
Marcia. All right, and with that, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, I think that's it. The ayes have it. All right, thank you all very much and have a nice evening.
Thank
you.
you. Patrick.
Good night, guys.